before God gave it to Israel and before the Palestinians came on the scene. But black history and Jesus. One more connection. God's eternal plan includes saints before his call to Abraham in Genesis 12:3. It includes the angels in heaven, and it includes the world to be saved after the tribulation. And it includes the church. So we just can't zero in on Israel and zero in on the church, even though the church is the oldest. Because Jesus is his head, and he's eternal. So, black history and Jesus. Acts chapter 7, verse 43 said that the Israelites would be scattered beyond Babylon. And they were. On the Mount of Olives, Jesus made some predictions. He looked down the tunnel of time and gave us and left us in his word what was to come to pass, as was his custom. He predicted the future for us and told us that what was going to happen, so that when it happened exactly as he said it would, we would believe in him. John chapter 16, verse 4, John chapter 14, verse 29, John chapter 13, verse 19, I think 12, 6 or 16, John chapter 2, 17 and 23, you know. If he was here today, somebody would be wanting him to give him the lottery number, the Powerball. So, Acts chapter 7, verse 43 says, Israel will be scattered beyond Babylon, beyond the Babylonian captivity. So, Jesus came through the tribe of Judah of Israel. He didn't come through the Levitical priesthood. He wasn't qualified to be a Levitical priesthood, a Levitical priest. The Levitical priesthood were humans. He came through the tribe of Judah, and he was a priest after the order of Melchizedek. Genesis chapter 14, 18 through 20. Descendant of Ham, who was God's spiritual mediator in the earth before he called Abraham. Before he took our land from us and gave it to Israel. Wow. Wow. Then he moved Israel off the land in AD 132. The Romans sacked Israel, Jerusalem. But along come a African American son of former slaves, born in 1905, after Israel had been scattered to the four corners of the world. Let's see, AD 70 to 1905. 1925 years, somewhere along there. Well, over 1900 years. After they were gone, Dr. Ralph J. Bunch was born. And he grew to manhood and prominence in the international arena. I guess he was second president or general secretary of the United Nations, League of Nations, whatever they called it then. But Ralph J. Bunch, you know, Israel left the promised land, which belonged to the descendants of Ham, but God gave it to the descendants of his brother Shem. And then they left. And Abraham's other children moved in. And that created a problem called the Palestinian dispute, which is in existence today. But in 1948, this son of former slaves, a descendant of Ham, settled the Israeli-Palestinian dispute, 1947-48. He got them together. He worked out an agreement that was supported by the nations in power. That's what you have to realize. And for his efforts, he became the first African American that I know to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And he didn't receive it for his civil rights activity. He didn't receive it for his humanitarian activities. He didn't receive it for technological advances. No. He received the Nobel Peace Prize because he fulfilled, God used him to fulfill biblical prophecy. And Black History Month, most organizations don't even mention him. And he accomplished the most significant event in human history in the last 1900 years. Probably second only to the coming of Jesus was the return of Israel to their homeland after an absence of almost 1900 years. And for that, the world gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. But because it involved religion,